Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Angelo Chavez, and I'll be reporting all about the development of emotions of an infant and toddlers. Development of emotions. Here are the milestones of the baby and the toddler's emotional development and social development. Okay, first is early infancy or birth, from birth to 6 months. Okay. It is not clear whether infants actually experience emotions or if adults using adult facial expressions as the standard simply superimpose their own understanding of the meaning of infant facial expressions. Excuse me. So basically, uh, infants does not know the true definition of what is emotions or just uh what can you say this by looking to the facial expressions of their parents or adult that surrounds them. They just copy their uh, facial expressions, and yeah, just like they learn through seeing what they uh now. Okay, continue. Between 6 and 10 weeks, a social smile emerges, usually accompanied by other pleasure indicative actions and sounds, including cooing and mouthing. This social smile occurs in response to adults' smiles and interactions. As infants become more aware of their environment, smiling occurs in response to a wider variety of contexts. They may smile when they see a toy they have previously enjoyed. Laughter, which begins at around 3 or 4 months, requires a level of cognitive development because it demonstrates that the child can recognize incongruity. That is, laughter is usually elicited by actions that deviate from the norm, such as being kissed on the abdomen or a caregiver playing peekaboo, because it fosters reciprocal interactions with others. Laughter promotes social development. So, between 6 and 10 weeks, the infant start to learn smiling, and they try to respond or interact to the adult. Then, as infants became more aware of their environment, smiling occurs in response to a wider variety of contexts. So they may smile when they see a toy they have previously enjoyed. So starting here in this stage, they learn, well, they may not know the true definition of emotions, but they already given an example of emotion, which is smiling. It's one of it. Then laughter, which begins at around 3 or 4 months. So around 3 or 4 months, an infant begin to laugh. Mostly, it was usually elicited by actions that deviate from the norm, such as being kissed on the abdomen or a caregiver playing peekaboo. So, in the other hand, laughter also promotes social development. Continue. Second, later infancy months 7 to 12 months. During the last half of the first year, infants begin expressing fear, disgust, and anger because of the maturation of cognitive abilities. Anger, often expressed by crying, is a frequent emotion expressed by infants, although some infants respond to distressing events with sadness. Anger is more common. So an example is of this is an adult teasing an infant, then made them angry, or the infants want something that you can't give, so that causes them to be angry. Then in order to show their anger, they expressed it by crying. Next, fear also emerges during this stage as children become able to compare an unfamiliar event with what they know. Unfamiliar situations or objects often elicit fear responses in infants. One of the most common is the presence of an adult stranger, a fear that begins to appear at about 7 months. A second fear of this stage is called separation anxiety. Infants 7 to 12 months old may cry in fear if the mother or caregivers leave them in an unfamiliar place. So, I think everybody is very related of this situation. Do you still remember when you were a young child that then your parents leave you to someone you don't know? Then it may generate fear towards that man or that person. So something like that, or uh what other example of it? Wait. In a situation, uh, infants or adults, if you were lost in an unfamiliar place, fear will occur, something like that, or basta ka nang mawala ka or kasama ba ng English, oy Diyos ko, ay kalisod, magbisayaan lang ko. So akong balik ko na yung example is anang ibilin ka sa tao nga wala ka kaila, so mag-create siya og kahadlok or fear toward that person. Then second example is anang nabutang ka sa usa ka lugar ba or nawala ka dia or wala kay kauban, wala kay kaila, nasaag ka na, that may create ka fear. So yan na siya. So next, socialization of emotions begin in infancy. It is though that this process is significant in the infant's acquisition of cultural and social codes for emotional display, teaching them how to express their emotions and the degree of acceptability associated with different types of emotional behaviors. Another process that emerges during this stage is social referencing. Infants begin to recognize the emotions of others and use this information when reacting to novel situations and people. As infants explore their world, they generally rely on the emotional expressions of their mothers or caregivers to determine the safety or appropriateness of a particular endeavor. So, during infancy, nagsugod na tag to learn or socialize with emotions. Makasabot na ta or ma-identify na nato kung unsay gibati sa usa ka tawo by just looking to them, or yeah, just like that. Then mag-base dayon na ato ding mag-generate dayon tag unsay atong i-response sa ilang emotions based sa atong nakita or ana as an infancy. So next, toddlerhood years 1 to 2. So during the second year, infants express emotions of shame or embarrassment and pride. These emotions mature in all children and adults contribute to their development. So at this stage, we learn to be embarrassed or feel ashamed. Bali, diri na generate ang ato pagka maulawon or for example, ito bata natin siya og example. For example, nagdula ka sa imong mga friends. Then something, or as a child nakaihi ka. So if niya kanang kasabay ka sa imong mama in front of them, then mubati ka o kaulaw. Then nakay pride niya. Masako din nga si mama, ingno din mama. Ayoko ko sabi sa tubangan nila. So nga na, I think nga na ang situation niya or nga na diha mubati ta og kaulaw na sa ubang tao. Laira sa una as infant nga kanang makahita, makalibang, nailisan ta sa atong parents. As in wala pa kayo tay kaalam na or unsa pa wala pa kayo tay ka-response, we don't know how to respond on that stage. But here toddlerhood, nanatay ko an idea or unsa na siya, or so nanatay idea ana nga situation niya or mubati na nanatay emotions pud nga mufit ana or atong i-response. So bisag kinsa man siguro no, kung for example 2 years old na ta tapos nasayop ta sa kadaghanan murag bubati na jud sir tag kaulaw ana, di ba? So next, emotional understanding. During this stage of development, toddlers acquire language and are learning to verbally express their feelings. This ability rudimentary as it is during early toddlerhood, is the first step in the development of emotional self-regulation skills. In infancy, children largely rely on adults to help them regulate their emotional states. If they are uncomfortable, they may be able to communicate this state by crying but have little hope of alleviating the discomfort on their own. So also during toddlerhood, they acquire language. Oh, so kabalo na sila mo istorya. They communicate through their parents or other people, and also they start to learn expressing their feelings, their emotions, their opinions. Then just like that. Next, in toddlerhood, however, children begin to develop skills to regulate their emotions, with the emergence of language providing an important tool to assist in this process. Being able to articulate an emotional state in itself has a regulatory effect in that it enables children to communicate their feelings to a person capable of helping them manage their emotional state. Speech also enables children to self regulate, using soothing language to talk themselves through difficult situations. Empathy, a complex emotional response to a situation, also appears in toddlerhood, usually by age 2. The development of empathy requires that children read others' emotional cues, understand that other people are entities distinct from themselves, and take the perspective of another person. So, previously, Eric Erickson's psychosocial theory of development were discussed by the other reporters, the one before me. The first two stages of a person's psychosocial development apply at the periods of infancy and toddlerhood. That is why they are discussed below. So, uh, first is hope or no, their virtue is hope. Then the psychosocial crisis is trust versus mistrust. So I think kabalo na siguro mo unsa to siya, unsa iyang meaning ato. Kung unsa iyang malinag sa to? Malignancy and maladaptation. Sorry, my bad. Excuse me. The first stage of Eric Erikson centers around the infant's basic needs being met by the parents. Met. The infant depends on the parents, especially the mother, for food, sustenance, and comfort. The child's relative understanding of world and society come from the parents and their interaction with the child. If the parents expose the child to warmth, regularity, and dependable affection, the infant's view of the world will be one of trust. Should the parents to fail should parents fail to provide a secure environment and to met, meet the child's basic need, a sense of mistrust will result. According to Eric Erikson, the major development task in infancy is to learn whether or not other people, especially primary caregivers, regularly satisfy basic needs. If caregivers are consistent sources of food, comfort, and affection, an infant learns trust that others are dependable and reliable. If they are neglectful or perhaps even abusive, the infant instead learns mistrust that the world is an undependable, unpredictable, and possibly a dangerous place. So second is will, or ang virtue is will, then psychosocial crisis is autonomy versus shame and doubt. So main question, can I do things myself or must I always rely on others? As the child gains control over eliminative functions and motor abilities, they begin to explore their surroundings. The parents still provide a strong base of security from which the child can venture out to assert their will. The parents' patience and encouragement help foster autonomy in the child. Highly restrictive parents however, are more likely to instill in the child a sense of doubt and reluctance to attempt new challenges. Wait. So, as a parent, dapat yun imo siyang hatagan og support ang imong toddler or imong anak. Dili nimo siya or balik kung unsa iyang gusto niya buhaton, like gusto niya ma-learn ni siya nga butang, dapat nimo siya i-support. Dili nimo siya tawan ni butangan og barrier or kanang dili ingon nga puro na lang bawal. So in case moabot siya sa situation nga kung mo-perform sa ani nga butang, dili na siya, wala na siya gana or wala na siya confident kay nga no maulaw siya nga iyaning buhaton nya mopalpak siya kay dili siya kabalo niya na ana. So as a parent, dili po dapat nga may highly restrictive ta or kanang tanan na lang bawal. Dapat suportahan po nato kung unsay gusto sa ilang bata. Kay aron ma-develop pod ang ilang confident, then matanggal ang ilang pag autonomy or kanang ginabuhat lang nila nga sila-sila lang nga walay makakita. Yan na. So I think mauro to sa akong example. So next So now, as they gain increased muscular coordination and mobility, toddlers became capable of satisfying some of their own needs. They begin to feed themselves, wash and dress themselves, and use the bathroom. If caregivers encourage self-sufficient behavior, toddlers develop a sense of autonomy, a sense of being able to handle many problems on their own. But if caregivers demand too much too soon, refuse to let children perform tasks of which they are capable, or ridicule early attempts at self-sufficiency. Children may instead develop shame and doubt about their ability to handle problems. So, nga siya. Dili dapat na to, for example, ani siyang, there is a, ani siyang sentence or paragraph, nag-state siya nga, dili na to siya restrictan kay also tao po siya naabot siya na siya kakayahan po na po siya iyang kaugalingong ability. So hangtang nagdako siya samtang nagdako siya, naglearn po siya, nagdevelop. So there are things or mga sample lang ng mga butang kaya na niya buhaton or mahandle niya siya lang. So as i-guide lang nato, dili lang kay puro na lang kita ra mo ate man sa iya na. So mo nang sana so mo na yung mag-generate sa shame on doubt or sa maulaw na siya nga mabuhat ana kay lagi dili pwede ana-ana na lang. So next na pa ba? So mo na itong end. So that's all for my reports, and I hope everyone nakasabot mo sa akong gipang yaw-yaw, even though daghan ko mga mistakes sa mga grammar. Pasensya kaayo. And God bless. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.